Today I want to talk to you about dairy. To eat or not to eat dairy. And if you're a vegan, then dairy is off the diet. But then we'll talk about other foods that are being consumed by vegans or vegetarians if they don't eat dairy. Or if you have an allergy to dairy, you may be consuming those as well. So we have probably eaten dairy for thousands and thousands of generations. And it was back when the herding society started. Most herding societies began in extreme climate. So it could be 14,000 feet above sea level where there wasn't a lot of plant life. It could be in the northern part of the world or the southern part of the world, such as Namibia where the Himbas live. And I think I've talked to you about these people before. So these people, the only way they could survive was to eat animals as well as the produce of animals, which was the dairy. But the dairy was raw. It was milked from one herd. They would ferment it to preserve it. So for instance, the premiers of Kagir up in Afghanistan, they ferment a lot of their milk. So when their animals have no small or have babies with them, therefore they don't produce milk, then what they would do is they would ferment it into like a hard like curd. These days, dairy is very, very different. It could come from multiple herds, could come from 15, 20, 30 different herds in the district. Then from that district, it might go to a central processing plant. So there's thousands of animals that are part of the milk that you drink when you go to the grocery store. It has to be pasteurized. In Australia, it's illegal not to have the milk pasteurized. But then they homogenize it, skim it, trim it, rev it, shape it. I've even seen fish oil in milk. So they do all these things to milk. Once upon a time, there was one milk. I remember the day when milk was delivered to our doorstep with just glass, bit of cream on top and a silver lid. And then you would put the empty bottles back out and they would refill it again. So this was the way dairy used to be, but it's very, very different now. From milk, when the cream is taken off it, we have cream, but cream isn't cream anymore. What they do with cream now is that they add guar gum or some thickener or a gelatin to the cream to thicken it up. Some people whip their cream a little bit more to thicken it up. It all depends on what the practices of the dairy are. So if you are buying milk, try and buy pasteurized only. If you are buying cream, buy pure cream. That nothing else has happened to it. And then from cream, we make butter and buttermilk. So we wash that butter, we churn the butter, we wash it, and we make our buttermilk, but we also make our butter. An alternative to and then the next thing is cheese, by the way. So we then can make cheese from the whey, or we can make it from the milk or from the cream. So it all depends on what cheese we're making, whether it's a hard cheese or whether it's a soft cheese. If you are vegan or you have a dairy intolerance, then you may be looking at alternatives to milk and dairy. And what we see now is almond milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, oat milk. All of these milks are out there. I read the ingredients. I look at the back and I see that like almond milk is 2% almonds. I know when I make almond milk, there's a lot more than 2% almonds. In actual fact, it's 80 grams of almonds to around 400 ml of milk that I make. And then I'm left with those dried almonds that I then use for almond flour. If you look at the ingredients these days, you'll see 2% with thickeners and flavors and colors and gums and acidity regulators, and everything is in those plant-based milks. So if you are going to do a plant-based milk, try and make your own or look for one that you know is good. It's just a matter of reading the ingredients. You'll find it in your area because every district is different to who is making these plant-based milks. An alternative to butter is margarine or vegetable spreads. These are either fractionated into esterified or hydrogenated. They are chemical formulations. You can't do this in your kitchen. I made butter the other day. I cannot make margarine. It's impossible for me to make margarine because I don't have the chemical processes in order to make it. They then have to add yellow dye to it. They'll also have to add antioxidants and a flavor because it doesn't taste like butter in any way. So if you are looking at alternatives, then you can make your own with coconut, oil, a vegetable oil, and a little bit of turmeric to make it look like yellow. So there are alternatives to doing this if you cannot have butter. There's also ghee. So ghee is clarified butter where we take all the dairy out of it and all we're left with is a butter oil. So the quality of the dairy is more important than getting dairy at all. Seek it out in your local area, try and buy locally, see if there's a farmer around that has got it at your farmer's market. But the quality is such an important part of it. So to sum it all up, quality is important, try and buy local. If you can't do dairy, read your ingredients on how they're making the alternatives. Hope that gives you some help on whether you should eat dairy or you shouldn't eat dairy. Thanks for listening.